Hey everybody, welcome to this week's musing. So after last week we were talking about resolutions, today we're going to focus on big challenges. Quite specifically, how do we actually go after those big challenges? And this can be at work, this could be on the sports field, this could be a side hustle, this could be a project to rebuild your house, whatever it might be. The chances are that you're going to start off with this big, hairy, audacious goal. Sometimes they can quite honestly scare the shit out of you. That's actually quite exciting, certainly from a sporting endeavour. That definitely happened to me from an Ironman perspective. But how do we begin to make progress so that we actually start moving forward in the right directions? First thing, you need to know what you're going after. We're going to put that to one side because the whole goal setting piece we will come to in future sessions. But here and now, if you've got your challenge that you're going after, it's big, it's hairy, it scares you. What do we need to do? Well, the first thing to do is to break it down into bite-sized chunks. The chances are that you could break it down into 3-4 big sections. Let's think, okay, so I'm going to train for this year to do an Ironman, for example. I've got 12 months to do it. Probably going to break it down into 3-4 month cycles. Brilliant. Okay, fine. Off the back of that, what is the thing that I could do in this first chunk? There's probably a number of further steps within there that can break it down even further. Well, let's do it once more. So you've got, of those 4, you've probably got another 4, and then you might even have another 3 in there. Excuse me. So all of a sudden, without really thinking about it, you've gone from this big, scary piece into probably something that feels quite manageable. Sometimes you might hear the phrase future pacing, and what that really means is you put yourself in the position of crossing that finish line in this endeavour. What was the first thing that you did prior to doing that? Well, it was probably, let's take a triathlon, finishing the run. And before that, you did the the transition. And you did the bike and the swim and so forth. But before that, you did your prep the night before. And then before that, you did your warm down or your tapering in the training. And you begin to work your way backwards to actually the day that you sit here now, going, actually, I now know what the first thing I need to do is. Turn it around the other way. If you break down the big piece into bite-sized chunks and you start tackling those chunks, think to yourself, what is the most valuable action I can do today? MVA's most valuable actions cover a number of different areas. 1, is it important or urgent? Massive difference. Are you going to be busy or productive? Again, a massive difference. So really, as you sit here, or sit there, or whatever it is you're doing, think about write a list of everything that you need to do. Then, this will form part of your most valuable actions. Highlight which one you think is the most important. Then go after that one. If you do one thing in that day, tick off your most valuable action. Yes, you'll hear people refer to Mark Twain's Eat the Frog, and what that really means is you've just got to tackle the most important thing or the most difficult thing or the hardest thing first, because once you've done that, the rest of the day feels much easier. There's all sorts of theories, and you'll hear lots on Medium and on social media around how to be most productive in the morning, and there's an app for this and there's an app for that. Stuff that. Find what works for you and go with that. I quite simply use Apple Notes. That's it. Yes, there's Google Keep, and there's Day One, and there's Evernote, and there's Dropbox, and certain things for certain places. But for me, Apple Notes does it. So as you endeavour to go through the next week, and you have to go after something big, don't get scared. Break it down into manageable chunks. And of those manageable chunks, break it down even further, and then go after one. Write a list of all of those actions that you need to do in that first chunk, and go after one of them. One might not feel like a great deal, but if you do one, and then another one, and then another one, within 2 or 3 days, you look back and you think, actually, I've made some quite significant progress. I can guarantee you that when you train for 32 weeks to do an Ironman triathlon, it gets hard and it gets tough. But you've got to keep going. It's these small, incremental, consistently moving forward pieces that makes the big difference. We're going to dive into some of these parts that I've mentioned today in future areas, but just suffice it to say, don't get scared, break it all the way down, and if in doubt, ask. You don't always have to do these things on your own. So with that, I will leave you to have a great week. So break it down into chunks, into further chunks, write a list of everything you need to do, and then pick out what your most valuable actions will be from there. And with that, I will see you soon.